Hello everybody. Today I'll be doing a presentation on stress's effects on the human body. Stress is pretty much an ever-present danger in everyone's life. There's no way to avoid it. Its effect on your health can be disastrous. So it's important to understand the different types of stresses and how they affect the body and can affect your health. In 2017, the American Psychological Association conducted a study and found that 57% of Americans consider the current political state to be the #1 source of stress over items in the past like work or money. This showed that the 2017 presidential election was something that will not be easily forgotten. While I'm not a doctor, I am someone that has experienced stress just like everyone else. Stress is part of our daily lives, so there's no way to avoid it. I will share some facts that I have found during my research that will help you out. Having knowledge about stress and how you can learn to manage it and lead a happier and healthier life. First, I will cover the history of stress. Then I will cover the different types of stress and how the body responds. And then we'll look at stress's long-term effects and also cover some ways that you can manage stress in your daily life. The study of stress is relatively new. It was first studied and defined by Dr. Hans Selye. He identified that there were items that would affect the body and were sources which he referred to as stressors. And he found that these stressors affected the body and resulted in a response which he called stress. Our bodies would then release different hormones to cope with those different types of stresses. Due to Dr. Hans Selye's work, we now have a better understanding of stress and realize the greater impact it can have on our health. We'll now cover the 4 different quadrants of stress. So strictly stress management defined the 4 quadrants of stress as a combination of acute and chronic durations combined with eustress and distress states. In the first quadrant, chronic eustress is where everybody should strive to be. This is our most happiest state. The next quadrant is acute eustress. This is the state you're in when you receive some really good news or maybe even win a prize. Then moving down to the lower section, acute distress is the polar opposite. This is when a horrible event happens or you're being attacked. The last quadrant is chronic distress. This is the most dangerous state that you can be in and results in illnesses. As you can see, stress is present in multiple states, and in some cases it can be good, and in other cases it can be bad. Now let's look further into how stress affects the body over the long term. Chronic distress results in health collapses like a pack of cards. Dubar-Lane found stress causes illnesses related to your adrenal glands, digestive system, blood sugar levels, thyroid gland, and immune system. There is almost no part of the body that is not affected by stress. Since we cannot rid ourselves of stress entirely, it is important to understand how we can manage our stress levels. In the book Stress 63 Ways to Relieve Tension and Stay Healthy, there are multiple tips to help you learn how to deal with stress. These methods are grouped into categories such as lifestyle, time management, nutrition, exercise, and self-care. The goal is to allow your mind to focus on other items and not focus on the source of stress. There is no shortage of ways to reduce stress. Finding what works for you is key. In summary, we learned about the complexities of stress and how it can affect our bodies. While there is no way to avoid stress, we have learned methods to deal with our stress levels. While the science around stress has evolved over the years, there is no cure. Stress is part of our daily lives. No one should ignore the signs of chronic stress. I've covered many aspects of stress management in my presentation today. You now know about the 4 quadrants of stress. I explained the stress's effects on the bodies. Lastly, you've learned multiple methods to learn how to manage your stress. So we cannot change the results of the 2016 election, but you've learned some ways to cope with that stressor. On the positive side, even though the future of our nation is our largest stress source, its awareness and how our votes count is something that we can take into account in the future.